because we want people to hear this. So you were saying that you had grown up in Latvia. You were from Ukraine originally. You were telling us about the Soviet rule, and
Hmm. So I was talking about that terrifying movie that they showed us in second grade. They brought us all into the gym and showed us a movie about what will happen when Americans finally drop the bomb on us, right? And it went from like a frame of a scene of people getting married and happy, and all of a sudden there's a bomb and everything goes black and skeletons. And then there's kids sitting in class in school and during class, and then the bomb drops and everybody, and just like a scene after scene. And then I just remember thinking, like, why do they hate us so much? What did we do? Like, terrified, right? And then I come here, and then, of course, I hear about how
oh, the
you
same thing.
guys were terrified of us.
Oh yeah, and I remember, they're like, when they drop the nuke, you got to get under your desk. So, and then it was like when I look back at all the, because I was a chorus nerd kid, and like they had entire plays. There was this one play called Peace Child, and the whole thing was like reinforcing our parents' brainwashing that the Russians were bad. And we thought that, we were told that in the Soviet Union, you all you saw was like westerns of Americans, and that you were all propagandized to believe that we all rode horses and shot six guns, and that we were all crazy and all of that. So I don't know.
It's fascinating. I would love to just take you all with me and show you, my childhood, and then the same thing. I want to experience your childhood. It would be, I think, just would break all kinds of, I don't know, illusions, right? We
Oh,
didn't have anything, they didn't show us anything about America. We didn't have the movies. We were not allowed only in the 90s, right? That everything kind of like opened up and we were able to watch some movies. And
well,
at
what was
first,
that change like?
that's the most fascinating part, right? When people ask me about, well, how terrible was the life in USSR? And honestly, for me, and as a child, part of it probably is our childhood in general. We remember with good memories and love and just happiness. But part of it, imagine you a country that was functioning for many years, right, for generations. And there were systems in place and laws and regulations and SOPs of any kind. I mean, just well regulated country, right? Education system, medical system, everything was very well organized and planned out. And then 1991 happens and Russia, buy, okay, you don't want to buy. And then Latvia, a small country that has no platform, basically, no laws, no regulations, like has to try to figure it all out, in real time with real people, the money, new systems, new, you know,
Wow.
adapted some of the laws that were there, but they had to do everything on the fly. Just imagine like a company, right? You had a company, I don't know, franchise of some sort, and then your corporate office, like, okay, bye, right? You don't have software, you don't have anything. You just have to, how do you pay? How do you pay people? How do you, you have the idea of a company, you kind of feel like you know what you have to do, but you don't have the tools, right? So
Mhm.
that process was the most fascinating, right? To see and the mafia and the cops, and like that's when I saw the actual corruption, right? You had to have insurance of some sort, right? So you could either employ mafia to protect your business. We had a small cafe, my mom, like a little small restaurant. So you had to have protection, right? And you could either employ mafia, and they would come every month, and you would just
Oh,
give
you're
them money,
there. We go.
and bad's gonna happen, right? You're gonna get, your building's gonna set on
Wow.
fire.
So
Um,
protection
and
racket.
then, or,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, or you could have police protection. one or the other, right? Either mafia or police. And they didn't. They knew like, okay, you can tell them, okay, I have this mafia organization or whatever protecting me, or and you tell them, okay, I have police protecting me, and they had mutual respect for each other, right? So they didn't cross. So if they knew you were protected by the police, the
Yeah.
criminal mafia will not touch you, and vice versa. So
Have
that
you
part
seen,
was the most fascinating, like I said.
have you seen Joe Rogan's? I think it's Brett Krishner, his The Machine, the skit, not like the movie, but he did there was a skit called The Machine. No,
No.
it's about him taking a college trip to Russia and
Mhm.
riding on a
I want to see
train and
them.
having to deal with the mafia and all of that. It's
In the
fascinating.
90s,
One of the
it
funniest
was
things.
crazy.
So, what made you want to come over here?
So I wasn't supposed to be here for very long. I came here for a year. I was in college. I was the top of my class. 10 of us got an opportunity to come here, and we could choose from 13 different schools. And I don't know, I was like, oh, Cincinnati, that sounds fun. Could go to San Francisco, or, there's Boston, there's all kinds of schools. And I just remember I heard about Cincinnati with tennis. It was like Mason, but it was Cincinnati. It was always, Cincinnati.
Sure.
And then I had a friend who had immigrated to United States, and she went to Cincinnati. So I kind of knew, I was like, saw Cincinnati, UC, University of Cincinnati on the list. I'm like, okay, let's go to Cincinnati. And I came here and got a job as a waitress, and then was asked to be a manager a year later. And I was supposed to leave. Like, I think I had a 2-year school visa and a year-long program in UC at UC, and I'm still here. So my job asked me to stay, promoted me to a manager, and I met my first daughter's father back then. It just kind of happened. My mom was devastated. My employer was devastated. I never thought, I just thought I would come here and have fun, and as a 20-year-old, just learn something. I was never like, my brother was very fascinated by America. Like, he watched all the movies, he watched, like, cartoons and like Ninja Turtles, and and I just never really, but it was like, okay, let's go to America, like, see what it's like. And I loved
Um,
it. And what I
yeah.
loved was the people. I am in love with the people, with American people. Like, just so much.
Still. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes a certain kind of person though that will go to. I've gone overseas, and it's scary. Like there's a certain kind of thing about going. There's an adventure, especially when you're young. There's a sense of adventure. But you go into another place, and how good was your English? Because your English is great. How good was your English when you
I'm
showed
still
up?
learning any day now. I didn't have any English. Like, I could read some of it, and what they taught us was proper, like, British
Mm,
English, right? So I knew a little bit. I could understand some, if I like reading, right? But American accent, when I came here, I mean, I knew nothing, right? When somebody said 20, like, if I'm paying for something, they tell me 20. I'm like, what's 20? It's 20, like
yeah.
XYZ. Like, there's so many, and then the slang and just the cultural, there's one thing is to know the words, right? But then you have to understand the small details about the language and the slang, right? And there's so much of it. And
Oh, in Ohio, it's have a good one. Have a good one. Is it soda or is it pop? What is it? And you're lucky because Ohio is supposed to have no accent. Like this is where they get all the newscasters from, is
see,
Ohio.
I don't hear, like, I will hear Boston
Sure.
accent in New York. Those
Yeah.
are the only two accents that I can actually recognize.
Okay.
I don't know what Midwestern accent is. I mean,
Well,
Kentucky.
like it doesn't you don't out west you don't really get an accent until you hit California. And then it's like all the emphasis is flipped on its head.
See, I
California
don't I
has
don't hear it.
California has its own drawl, and it's different for sure. Definitely. So, and then you can't hear West Virginia accent, really? Or
Mm-mm.
Kentucky? Oh,
Kentucky, some Kentucky. Yeah, I can definitely
okay.
hear
Yeah,
Kentucky, but Boston is the strongest one for me.
yeah,
New
definitely.
York.
So the let's get to Delphi. Can we get to
Okay,
Delphi?
absolutely.
All
That's
right.
what we're here
So,
for.
how'd you find how did you hear about Delphi?
So, my daughter's birthday is February 13th of 2003.
Okay.
So I remember that day very well, right? News, like I don't watch the news now, but back then the news were kind of, you know, evening news or something on the radio, radio, whatever. I
Mhm.
remember hearing about it, maybe the night before, and I was just thinking, and my daughter was somewhere with her friends, and it was getting dark, and I'm just, wow, it's the same age, right? She was turning 14 on that day, February 13th, right? And I just remember that fear of like, wow, how awful
Yeah.
the parents might feel, right? So, and that it kind of stayed with me ever since then. And I'm pretty close to Indiana. And when they
Mhm.
found the girls, I mean, it was just devastating, right? And then I tried to stay in touch and kind of just check in once in a while. And I was just shocked that nobody was found, right? You have the video, and we were told that you definitely can tell that that's the abduction, right? That person is who abducted the girls.
Yeah.
And then somebody got, like maybe a year went by, somebody got arrested. Was it Chadwell? Um,
Yeah. Yeah. First, I think that's the first person I thought, okay, they got the guy. This has got to be the guy.
there was, yes, that's the first one. I guess there was somebody else from what's the other state that people talk about it, but I don't know much about. Somebody was brought in from Colorado or something
Yeah.
who was a hitchhiker or some, I don't know, I can't remember. But first for me was the Chadwell, right? I was like, yes, hopefully that's him because it did seem like on the news it was like he abducted a girl who was like 9, right?
Yeah.
Brought her to his basement. I mean, it was just bizarre, really creepy story. And then nothing happened with that. And then Keegan Klein, I was just, and I stayed in the know by listening, like, I don't know, many of us probably listening to Murder Sheet. I would
So when
listen to their
you
podcast.
okay, so you eventually you got your US citizenship.
Hmm.
Had you ever been
Not so
involved
long ago.
had you ever had like a speeding ticket? Have you ever had to go to American courts or anything like that?
Uh-huh.
Deal with
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah. I had a really good experience anytime if I had to go to court, or with the police, except for one incident, and I didn't know. I trust the police, right? Especially coming from a country where there was corruption, right? And what you hear about America, it's just the golden standard of everything, right? I
yeah.
remember being on the plane flying, to America and thinking, wow, I'm going to America. That's where everything is like made of gold and everything's clean. You can eat off the
Yeah.
ground you walk on, right? And
Yeah.
there's like
Yeah.
nobody dies, they just die of old age.
Oh,
I
wow.
remember thinking, 20-year-old, and I'm thinking that like I'm going to this land where everybody's happy and nobody gets killed and there are rules and police, nobody's going to lie to you. There's not going to be a mafia police, right? You can trust everybody. Because growing up, and especially after USSR, the corruption was, it's just a part of life. Nobody was surprised. You just knew, right? If you knew someone and you get pulled over, you can give them 20 lats, right? Or they will, like, they kind of wait and see if you, at that time, would wait and see if you'll tell them someone, right? I remember driving drunk completely. I had to crawl. I know it's gonna be, I can't believe I'm gonna tell the story, but it was normal, right? I
Yeah.
crawled. I was Friday night, I was whatever, 18 years old, and
Mhm.
I got so drunk that I had to like it was like a 9-story high-rise building. I remember getting out of the elevator, going outside. I'm like, there's my car. I can't get there. So I like crawled into my car, right? So I'm
Yeah.
driving and I had to literally
Oh, you
close one of my
you
eyes. Like
drove
I did
behind
that because
the
everything was on
road?
floors, right?
You're talking to an old drunk here. So, yeah. I've been
And I
sober
get
for
pulled
almost
over and I knew someone, a good friend of mine was a police officer, and I was like, hey, I know this guy. and he let me go. He just like, be careful.
Yeah.
So it was normal. You could pay someone to get ahead, you need driver license, you're scared of it. It's like it's just normal, right? It's just so normalized. So coming here, I expected, not even expected, it was by default, right? That everything is going to be just so perfect and people's rights and it's honest and it's open and just expectations were just
Yeah. Were you
beyond.
if you became a cop there, was the expectation that you were gonna be corrupt? Was it
A
just
100%.
okay.
It's not, it was hard to get there, right? You had to know someone because if you were a cop, you're going to be put on the pedestal and you can do whatever you want. And, they walked around with this proud. I mean, you had to know someone to become a
Yeah.
cop.
So you're kind of like made if you were a cop. Like
Yeah,
you
for sure. 100%. Nothing can touch you, you're never going to be prosecuted. You never heard of a cop being arrested for anything.
yeah.
Um,
Now
only
did
when I came
they have
here.
elections there? Did anyone ever get up and say, "Hey, you elect me and we're gonna get rid of the corruption"?
Well, it became, as years went on, right? They had to figure out what to do, and of course, it became all. And it's a very different country now. It's very European, and you can't do anything like that. I mean, it's completely changed country in
How did you feel
25
going to
years.
Delphi?
So like Delphi, I think shattered a lot of my. It's the first case. I was never really in the true crime. I loved watching documentaries. That was my thing. I watched
Yeah.
documentaries. Then during pandemic, I drove a lot and I started listening to podcasts. That was my thing. I like podcasts and I would go to sleep listening to podcasts. Then podcasts kind of became boring, right? I don't know, just wasn't. And then YouTube, I found YouTube lives and I can't, I'll go and watch a documentary on Netflix or something, and yeah, I'll make myself, and it's interesting, but nothing is more interesting than like watching a trial or watch it with somebody who's, legal mind or watching these lives.
Yeah.
Um, I
So
can't
you did that
find,
before Delphi. You were watching like true
yeah,
crime.
during pandemic, a little bit before.
Okay. Yeah.
And I would stay in touch and I would follow up and just kind of, I always wanted to know what's going on with Delphi.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
It was what, Murder
I
Street.
only watched the regular news up until
Mm.
the Franks. I didn't know anything about anybody talking about Delphi online at all.
Well, that's the Franks. I think when Richard Allen got arrested, I remember it being like, October 31st and getting, 2022, getting ready for Halloween. And it's always like in Halloween, I remember feeling like, oh, it's kind of creepy. That's the day when they were holding press conference, right?
Yeah.
And the days in waiting for it, I was just so, I couldn't wait to, like, it was a big deal. I remember feeling like it was a big deal that we're about to see, they arrested someone in this case. Like, I couldn't wait for Monday, right?
Hmm.
And then I watched the news. I remember sitting there like watching the news, watching the press conference, and I'm like, oh, it kind of give, like, I remember that feeling like, really, what? Who? Like, Richard Allen? Who? Like, we had all these names. There's like, this could have happened. This could have happened. And there's this guy. Like, okay, well, I kind of see how they can tell, maybe he's a bridge guy, right? They telling us it's him. And I'm just like, I don't know. But I mean, I full on, I was full on board. Like, yes, they arrested someone. Um, and then I couldn't wait for like, his first court appearance. And then nothing. And then they're like sealed affidavit, nothing can be released, like gag order and all that. I'm like, wow, there must be a story, right? Like they don't want, they're still investigating. Like he's not the only one. There's going to be this huge story
Yeah.
when it comes out, right? And then,
Well, I
um,
thought, I looked the guy in the eyes and I'm thinking, what? That guy killed somebody?
yeah,
But
same.
you thought that, okay, maybe this guy is connected to other people.
Somebody else. There's somebody else, right?
Yeah, maybe they got the guy that, drove the car or something like that.
Hmm.
But
Exactly.
think I was looking at like a homicidal maniac, because whoever killed those
Yeah.
girls, is a homicidal
Oh,
maniac. It's not Richard
it's
Allen.
we know probably such a small percentage of what happened,
Yeah.
and the fact that whoever it is or whoever they are, they don't want us to know about this, right? But anyway, we'll get into it. But and then somehow I found defense diaries, prosecutors, and that's when it started. Like, oh yeah, it is. It's definitely Richard Allen. No, it's not Richard Allen. It's definitely Richard Allen. It's not Richard Allen. And then probable cause affidavit. And remember listening to somebody's life or something or reading it, and it was like, come on, let's get to the point, right?
Yeah.
Tell me all about like how you found him and who he is, and then this last tip and all this. It just did not, like, it was just, looking back now, it just so weird, and we just don't say it enough how weird it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And then defense diaries, and then Frank's, and it's just, and ever since then I cannot. It's the only case that I know I'm glued to. I'm stuck. I'm just,
Hmm.
nothing will ever stop me thinking about it every day. And I know it sounds weird. I understand that for people that are not in this, but I just can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah. I think there might be some kind of trauma, might be, I don't know if it's the right word, but for some of us might have been traumatized by some of this. So, how did you, like, when did you decide that you were going to go to the trial?
Well, I went to a couple of pretrial hearings, right? It was it was after, the famous October hearing, right? That
Hmm.
was that was crazy to me. That was completely bizarre, and that's when I kind of
Well,
lost my,
what about it was bizarre?
the cameras, right? There's going to be cameras.
Yeah.
It's the
Oh,
only time.
you were
No, no,
there.
no, 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 I
Oh,
didn't. I didn't. It was after that.
okay.
But that hearing was just
Yeah.
so bizarre.
Sure.
Like everything that happened there was just so
Yeah.
bizarre. And coming up to, like, we had a month before a hearing or something. That's when those pictures were leaked and all that. And I remember the night before, or a couple nights before that October hearing, I remember listening to Murder Sheet, and they said the attorneys are going to be kicked off the case. That's what's going to happen. And I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy. You guys are crazy. Like, it's not going to happen. Nobody at that time thought the possibility of the attorneys being kicked off. It just never even crossed anybody's mind, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, you guys are crazy. You're going to see. And then, but now after, looking back, I'm like, how did they know? Why would they think that attorneys would be kicked off? I mean, nobody predicted that.
Why do you think they know? Why do you
Because
think?
they knew. That's when I knew in my heart that was like, oh wow, I listened to them this whole time. Like, I felt dirty, that I listened. I got all my information about Delphi from them.
Yeah. Well, like, here's the thing. What was so disappointing about them, one of the things, at least for me, is that they put out a decent product. You know,
True.
people were
Very.
saying, like, that they have this whatever bent. I had no idea, first of all, that they're Indiana based, which makes a lot of sense.
Hmm. It
But
makes a lot of sense.
um, like their whole Murder Sheet podcast was pretty well produced. It's got a very NPR vibe. Like, they just seem to be cut from that kind of cloth. Um,
Hmm.
which also kind of tracks, like, they're very pro state. But it was pretty clear that uh, I didn't pay attention to it, especially once the Franks dropped. Anybody that was espousing Richard Allen being guilty, I was like, whatever. I if you couldn't see, if you couldn't see through,
Hmm.
what was going on. Now, someone like Cryptics, I can kind of understand. Like, he just believes that the police aren't telling us. He
Hmm.
believes that, but he agrees with us on everything else.
Oh yeah, he doesn't think Richard Allen alone did
Yeah,
this.
right. So it's like, I just stopped listening to them. But it wasn't until kind of recently, that I started to see some of these bad actors in the field.
Mhm.
the other night, Cryptix alludes to Fig. And, you do have people who, like, I know that these people know who I am, and that's weird. Like,
It is weird.
the murder sheep followed me. Like, why? Like, but they did. They followed me. I blocked them. So I'm just like, you know what? I went through and I blocked all these people, and my engagement went up. So I think they were like mass reporting me constantly. They were just, or
Wow.
probably not just me.
But they're not even engaging on X or YouTube, right? So, but they're following and present, but never post. That's just creepy. That's just weird. I don't know. And I'm with you. I'm disappointed that those two people, they're pretty, you know, clever. I think they're intelligent. I'm not so much, if you watch some of the creators that are pro guilty, you just know that they. I don't want to, I don't want to offend anybody, but you just know those people are not just very smart, right? They just not very deep thinkers, right? They just jump to conclusions. They don't have the bandwidth.
Well, there's a lot of
The
people that are just stuck on the PCA. And when the lady, I don't want to get too close, but the lady that one of the ladies, the people that interviewed Doug Carter recently, said that what
Mhm.
convinced her was the worst evidence in the whole thing, which is the unspent round, convinced her that Richard Allen was the guy.
They don't know the case. They don't know the case.
I don't know.
No, it blows my mind. I and maybe we'll read it later, but I put together like a little list of, from the opening statements of what the prosecution was supposed to present and prove, right? And what
Yeah,
the defense attorneys were going to have to prove or disprove, right? And
right.
I'll see, it'll be interesting to see the reactions of what they actually, kind of go through that list. But to me, I was surprised to see how many people thought it was him and then alone, like they believed the prosecution.
Yeah.
At first I thought it was like I couldn't believe it, right? It was just so. I thought they were joking. They were doing it for whatever reason, but they truly believe that.
I don't know. I believe that this case is a national security case. And so I would expect, I expect to see certain kinds of things on the internet, and I see it. So whether or not
Mhm.
that's confirming my bias, whether or not it's actually exists, whether or not they're just dumb, like you're saying, or their opinion is paid for, which is what I think. I think
Hmm.
that these people provide cover, and
That's scary.
well, these kinds of operations are run right out of the fusion center. You know, they spend a lot of time and money, and if these things weren't really important, they wouldn't be spending so much time and money
So
on.
much effort. So, the whole trial experience, it was so mechanical, right? You walked in, even the pretrial hearing, you felt like you're in this playhouse, right? Everything is pre-planned, and you're a little everything is in its own play, and you're part of the play. You're watching a play.
Yeah,
Everything is going to be said. Everything how I was there at the May hearing when attorneys, right, asked for a continuance. No, they were pushed into it. They were played like chess. I mean, it was chess. It was a pre-planned, organized. I will never believe that the judge was not communicating with the prosecution team
yeah.
or someone
Uh,
there. I
uh,
will never believe that. It was all pre-planned, well um, practiced or rehearsed. It
yeah.
was you definitely felt like you're watching. If you ever went to Hollywood, like and watched, went into the one of those bar, what they filmed Friends and whatever TV
Hmm.
shows, and
Yeah,
you watch this whole stage, right? You walk in and you're like, wow, what I'm watching on TV is here. Like
yeah.
I'm seeing the stage. It's all perfectly set up. That's how I felt in that courtroom.
Odd. That's very strange. I think Michael Osbrook recently said something about, was it Michael Osbrook that said on Case X Fake Case that he heard Holman and Judge Gull came into deliberations?
Wow.
Is that true in chat? I don't know if anybody else heard that, but I believe he said something about
During deliberations.
during deliberations. Yeah. I mean, there was like days and days went on, and it just felt like we were going to get a hung jury, or it would be innocent.
I have I have thoughts about Holman. I'm very suspicious of him, only because of what I've seen in the courtroom, right? And I don't want any kind of be accused of any kind of slander. This is what I saw, what I watched. But one of the days during the trial, it was when Brad Weber. I was lucky to be there for the first Brad Weber test day, and it was fascinating, fascinating. Nothing that I will ever forget. But Holman was sitting at his prosecution table, and Brad Weber was testifying, and he was just like mumbling, Holman mumbling under his fuck, that's fucking retard or something like that. And then all of a sudden, he
During
looked
during Weber's testimony.
Weber's testimony, yeah, and then he's like, "Fucking idiot!" Like I was reading his lips, and you could hear I was pretty close. Fucking idiot, and like smiling, and then he looked to the right, and I swear, I don't. I mean, that's what I saw. He locked eyes with one of the jurors, and like, and looked, and I remember that juror looking at him, and Holman goes, "You fucking idiot." And I remember I was like, that's odd. And I even made a note.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think Andrew Burkhart said something about something like that.
and then come to find on the last day, or whenever it was announced who was the foreman, my jaw dropped because it was that guy who he locked eyes with. And I was out from seeing all the jurors, and I'll give you my notes and we'll talk about the jurors. He was the last one I would ever pick or suspect of being a juror. Like he was just, on my notes, it says, I can't read him. He was like, you can't read him at all. Like the person, kind of like a police officer, kind of like,
What did you think of the jury? What were they like?
So interesting. I was very hopeful. Actually, I think I was very naive because the reaction that I saw from the jury and the questions from the jury, right? That's why I was so shocked when he was found guilty, because what I saw from the jurors was very different from the verdict that we all saw, right? I
Yeah.
felt like they were engaged. I felt like they were laughing at and snarking kind of at especially Mullen, however you want to say his name.
Yeah.
And at Brett Weber, that was the oddest testimony that I've ever, or anything I've ever witnessed. It was the most awkward and scary and just weird experience. So when Weber was left on the stand by himself and they went to like sidebar or something, the jurors you could see their body language, right? They wanted to kind of move away from him.
Now, were you there for the sentencing?
No.
No, I mean, not sentencing, but the verdict being read?
No, we
No.
were online with Ange
Yeah.
watching it together. I
So
couldn't.
you couldn't?
I couldn't believe. No, I couldn't believe it. I was gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just could not believe it. I was there the night before, I think.
Okay. In the court.
Not in the court, but during jury deliberations. I thought that maybe that would be the day
Yeah.
or the first
Well,
day, and they were left. So I didn't go back.
so you went to how many pretrial?
So I went to two, I believe, two or three, two for sure, two pre-trial hearings, but one ended very quickly. Don't remember, but the one that I remember really really well is that May hearing, and the other one, I think one was canceled and one was very short.
Yeah.
Nothing. Mm-hmm.
And you went to like you said you were able to make it into 4 of the
4 days, yes, 4 different days. Like one was full day, and then I think 3 afternoons.
So I didn't want to do anything weird with copyright because these things get struck a lot. So I'm not going to play the clip of
Mm-hmm.
what Doug Carter said, but I think everybody's heard it. That Doug Carter intimated that the coverage coming out of the trial was not accurate, that it was bias in some way. Does that ring true to you?
If he listened to Murder Sheet only, then yes, because that's the only, I watched, I don't know how many hours I spent on YouTube during the trial, right? It's just, I don't know. I mean, it's probably, my iPhone was probably yelling at me every Sunday of the amount of hours, right, I spent on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I tried to listen that,
Yeah.
Andrea,
Mhm.
Bob, and then I would go and listen to Frank Meister or Tom Webster or, whoever,
Mhm.
hidden true crime as much as, I could. So I tried to, and of course, Laura Lee.
Now, did you
Uh,
when you were there, did you meet Hidden True Crime?
yes.
Did you meet her?
Yeah, yes, I did. I did meet her.
And what was she
So,
like in person?
so the first night, so she wasn't there for the first day. She had two girls that worked for her, and they stood in line. They were there, and I actually that night, the first before the first hearing, right, for opening statements, the first day of the trial, it was a amazing night because I got to meet Andrea, I got to meet Laura Lee, I got to meet
Yeah.
other people in line, right, and I got to meet those two girls that were there. For hidden true crime, and I really liked them. Like, we clicked and we talked, and it was fascinating. They didn't want to associate with the front of the line, let's say, per se, right? But and also I saw how it changed, how it transformed into them being like best friends, right, with all the pro prosecution people. um
The
hidden
people in line? Like the line sitters for
Yes.
each.
Well, every, like, all the pro prosecution, um, hidden true crime, they aligned with them towards the end, and but it wasn't like that in the beginning. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
And I sat next to her, Lauren, in
Yeah.
court a couple days, and we had some pretty good conversations. So I don't know. I was disappointed in her, of course, um, but Andrea's reporting was just, I was just so impressed with her writing, right?
Mhm.
One time I brought her, I think she was running out, I don't know if it was notepads or pens, or like, I brought her a stack of supplies. It
Yeah.
was it was just amazing to meet with her and talk to her, and same with Laura Lee. um
Do
I
you
didn't.
feel like Hidden True Crime Lauren um,
Mhm.
misrepresented herself, or do you feel that she showed up with an open mind?
It's hard for me to tell because spending them that night with the two girls that work for her, I think they
Yeah.
had pretty open minds. At least I know for sure one of them did. Maybe even both, right?
Mhm.
But even the very first conversation that I had with her, I think she believed in his guilt. Like, a couple things she said made me, kind of believe that. So I don't know. I think she came in looking to confirm what she already believed.
She's gone pretty hard to confirm. I mean, she's had to
Hmm.
like not look at certain evidence. She's had
Oh
to
yeah.
not ask certain questions.
Hmm.
She's had to straight up ignore certain.
I don't know why. I mean, if you're a journalist, right? If you find yourself to be in this space of delivering, if you're a journalist, I think the truth, right?
Yeah.
Being after the facts, that has to be your driver, not just otherwise it's propaganda. You have to. It's nothing, and it's scary. So, free speech, which I admire, and I just think this country, founding fathers were just genius. They were preparing, or they wrote the Constitution for the times we're living now.
Yeah. 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 Well, that's interesting thing that like we can have these conversations as a culture and
It's
hopefully
amazing. And
hopefully
that's
make it
first
through.
speech. You know, that first
Yeah,
that free speech, right? It
yeah,
has to be the core of everything America, right? But if you believer of free speech, you have to believe it for everybody. You can't just believe it for yourself, right? You just can't. And that's what
yeah,
I felt like during the trial,
yeah,
right? It's we get to speak the truth, and we're gonna everything that we don't like, we're going to table, right? And
yeah,
look at like Brian Koberger's trial, like how they releasing all the information. They don't care. You know, of course there's some blowback, and because the girl, of releasing all the pictures, there's a lot of questions, and but they knew, they believe in their case, and they
yeah,
didn't care, right? Here's the truth. We know who the guy is. Look at everything, scrutinize everything, ask whatever questions. They were not afraid to show possibly questionable pictures or interviews, right? Whereas all the it just they were not afraid. They were not hiding anything.
sure,
Here,
sure,
access it. And I feel like the prosecution team in the Delphi case, they were stopping the defense from talking about what they know 100% is true
yeah,
and very relevant to this case. To them, it was about as much information as possible needs to be not in the trial.
yes, yes, sure. So Doug Carter's his description of say because I he did word it in such a way that you could take it as anyone that you wanted to take it as
Mm.
being
But you
in
kind of knew who he
right.
was talking about, right?
You kind of know who he's talking
Mhm.
about, right? I
Mhm.
mean, he went to the extreme as saying that, you know, if the jury had heard the Odinism stuff, that he still feels that they would be convicted. Like the guy isn't stupid. So
Mhm.
I feel he's lying through his teeth when he
100%.
hangs his hat on the bullet. Like, dude, I can't take him seriously. Like, I
How
and
can you take anything serious? I mean, take the picture, and I don't know. I agree that probably for everybody, and even for me in the beginning, the bullet was probably the strongest evidence, right? But then
yeah,
you look at the picture of that mystery or memory box or whatever treasure box, right? And it's
yeah,
just sitting there, like sitting there, right?
right.
Just propped up, like I'm a little bullet, that
It,
Richard Allen
I think it was a
there.
different make, and it was a hollow point, I believe. I'm not sure if it was a ball round or not. One of those rounds was a hollow point.
Mhm. I think it was Hollow Point, and it was the only one. He didn't have any other Hollow Points,
So,
from what I understand.
but when I read the transcripts, and by God, I've read the transcripts. It reads like what lawyerly, what Andrea Berkman
100%.
and what Allie and Bob were reporting.
100%. If we all had time to go through, and that's something that I was like, I need to do this, because I don't think they really truly believed that. Many people maybe didn't believe that the transcripts would be out, that we'll ever get our hands on them. So I would love to go back to and listen if they're still up, right? Reporting by some of the pro prosecution um, lives and streams and all that, and like how much they left out and didn't talk about.
Sure.
I have to give it to Murder Sheet. They did talk about a lot of, very briefly, but they wanted to make sure they present the information that was talked about at trial, but it was very um, it was preceded by some kind of priming, right? If you listen to an episode about DNA, like a crime scene in whatever crime scene forensics day, they start the podcast episode with, let's talk about DNA. I know we all thought, you guys all think that all crimes, DNA is in all the cases, right?
Mhm.
But we did some research and we found that, it was fascinating, but it was only 10% of cases are solved, with DNA. And they just primed, right, the entire episode with like why you shouldn't expect DNA, why you shouldn't expect, hairs and like why you shouldn't. We're going to tell you, right? But you
Yeah.
should know now
Yeah.
why you can dismiss that completely.
Right. That's interesting. That you're picking up on that. I don't know how sophisticated most of the viewership is. When you hear Doug Carter say the things that he says, and one, he says them to people that are never going to push back. The most
Hmm.
pushback he gets is they repeat the question they asked him, and they make
He's
him
not
double.
afraid. When he went for
Right.
the, to interview who he went to interview with, he wasn't afraid.
Right. But he's also like he's either relying on the ignorance of the American public, or he's just relying on the fact that he's basically untouchable. Nobody's going to mess with him.
They don't
Uh,
care. That's what scares me and surprises me so much. They don't care. They
when you
don't
say
care. They're not afraid.
who, like the police or the
The
people?
police,
Oh,
anybody who's involved in prosecution or investigating the
yeah,
case, right? They don't
yeah.
care how many FOIA requests you send. They don't care how many, like, they don't give a fuck.
Well, okay. I mean, I kind of agree with that, but I think that if you look at the press conference they did right after
Hmm.
the trial,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think like we affected that. And
Hmm.
the amount of people that I hear from in Indiana, and I've got less than 400 followers that aren't bots. And, like people reach out to me and they thank me and they're like, I see these people from Indiana, and there's a
Hmm.
lot of people in Indiana
There are a lot.
that
There
don't
are a lot.
that don't believe it. And you
A
know,
lot of people, and there's more demonstrations. There's more. So there's a very big, like, I feel like a thick layer of people in Indiana who really care about the Constitution and justice, and they want to see change. But for some reason, the government and the police forces, they just don't. They just know nothing's ever going to change. Nothing's ever going to happen. The media there is very
um,
mellow, right? There's
yeah,
no
see nothing, say nothing.
see nothing, say nothing. So they don't feel the resistance. They feel like people out there, whatever they're trying to say, but they're protected by this thick wall of.
Well, I've heard. I had a friend who pitched a story to an investigative journalist at, well, I don't want to say because it's not my story.
Mhm.
I don't want to burn a source. So they pitched a story to an investigative journalist out of Indianapolis, and their response after they reviewed it was, um, no, we're not going to cover this story. And the
Mhm.
reason is because um, eroding trust in public officials is a safety issue that
There we go.
supersedes the public's right to know. And so, yes, this story is
100%.
true,
100%.
but we can't. So
We can't.
I couldn't verify that because the person didn't want to burn their source, and is maybe a little more sympathetic to some of these groups than I would be. So I had to kind of go and like do a survey of all the different stories that these investigative journalists had supposedly done. And
Mhm.
it's true. Like they never speak truth to power. It's all just like we helped the little guy get their insurance money and we helped the little guy find, like, right.
I don't
There's,
know why. It seems like it's a completely different. You in a different country when you think
yeah,
about Kieran Reid trial, and like, even though there's tons of corruption, and it was a fascinating trial to watch, and they tried, but the justice won, Constitution won in that case because they cared. Like, no matter how
yeah,
corrupt Proctor and MSP and the judges, they're still afraid. They
yeah.
still fear the system. They
Well, I think it was
respect
camera.
the system.
I think cameras was what it was. And I don't know what it is about.
She was never going to allow cameras ever.
Yeah,
They have so many. Actually, the setup in the courtroom is amazing. There's several cameras all over the place. There's two big cameras right above the judge's, whatever, her throne. Every camera was wrapped in the black trash bag
uh,
with the black tape around it. I mean, it was they were so afraid, so turned off cameras were not enough.
yeah.
They had to be wrapped in black trash bags.
And that was some more of Carter's BS that, Judge Gull was so concerned with Richard Allen's constitutional rights and
Co-
protecting those.
Right, she was terrified for him. I'm sure she went and visited him and put money on his commissary.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I
So
don't know
you,
why. I don't know. I don't know why. It's hopefully it's not all cases in Indiana, right? Hopefully maybe Delphi is just so whatever.
well, what do you think that is? I mean, so you're saying that, I mean, you were there and you
Mhm.
don't feel that the reporting out of Burkhart, and because honestly, like I think that Andrea Burkhart, like
You can line up transcripts
if
and yeah,
but I feel like those people, if they have nothing to gain out of
zero.
supporting Richard Allen, if Richard Allen was not
Mhm.
guilty, I mean, if he was guilty, nothing. Like their whole credibility.
Why?
Andrew Burkhart spends all day talking about people that are guilty.
Right. Why
And
would
all
her,
day.
it just I think we got so lucky. That's
Yeah.
what I see the catalyst of change maybe will be, or what we know about the case. I mean, I feel extremely we as a community, Delphi community, the people lucky, even those that don't think they are right. That it was, I think that's down somewhere down the line.
Oh, I
That's going to
agree.
be remembered
And thank you, by the way, for showing up. Seriously, we have, as a community, have crowdsourced something. Like I felt like a part of that, and I wasn't even there.
Mhm.
I was one of the people watching every night. But the people who sat in line, the people who showed up and like reported from, we did something that the state did not want to happen,
For sure,
and
and it's
we were
going to
ready.
start
Like, we were
eroding something.
yeah, we are at the
Hmm.
ground zero of something huge.
I agree,
For
and
sure.
I couldn't not to. I mean, I was just like my car almost like drove me there. Um, yeah, but if we talk about, you can take transcript from each day
Mhm.
and then go watch what Andrea Burkhardt said about Mata, right? I
Yeah.
mean, Andrea has some kind of gift. I don't know,
Oh yeah.
genius that I mean, she wrote almost word for word. You can match it to transcripts.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I don't know how she does it
Well, she's an excellent communicator, and what blew my mind was she would be there all day,
all day.
and then she would like stream with us until like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly, hours, hours.
Yeah,
And she's fascinating person to talk to. Just you can feel the presence, right? You just know, like some people just come with this huge presence, like
Andrea showed up.
oh my God, standing in line, like even though I didn't get in the day one, and I'll tell you why, but standing there all night and talking to her and being in that presence, and
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Like, okay, so what did you guys talk about?
Talked about
Give us
her
your
appellate
offhand.
appellate experience, how she, I was like, so you staying in Delphi? And she told me about, like, she had to find, she does boxing, so she's a boxer. So she went and found some boxing, some small club in Lafayette, I think, and
Yeah.
she just like worked out there with the guys. And it's also like a woman just go to Delphi, get a, in Delphi, like she's just very interesting and fascinating person.
Do you okay? So during the trial, she said that there was a day when a bunch of like suits showed up, a bunch of like feds showed up. Do you remember that? Were you there for any of that?
So I think they were there all the time. Maybe one day there were more of them, but the days there I was there, so there was a table in the back, and we got yelled at in the first day. Nobody could sit. There were chairs and also a table and chairs around in the back of the room, the
Yeah,
courtroom. Um, and there was always, I mean, you can just tell, like, those very tall, kind of like, you can just tell FBI, black suits, tall, like it's just the same, it's the same person you see in the movies, right?
So they're FBI. You think
I
they're,
mean, I
you know that they're FBI.
I don't know. I mean, they didn't look like attorneys to me.
Yeah. Because you're confirming all my biases right now. I'm like,
I think I told them someone's lie. I mean, they look like FBI,
yeah,
DOJ, whatever.
yeah. Why do you think that is? Why were they there?
I don't know. I mean, I was shocked. I mean, to me, it was just such a. I think maybe at first I thought maybe they're attorney for the prosecution. I don't know. Maybe they're just there, like watching. I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe like attorney general or whatever, protecting the rights of the prosecution. So if prosecution gets sued or something, right?
Okay.
They are protecting them. And then I was like, but they look like FBI guys. But then that day where she didn't allow FBI agent to testify via Zoom,
Yeah. Special
and
Agent
all they, yeah, special agent
Pohl.
Paul,
POHL.
yeah, and all he needed to testify about how Brad Weber, maybe it wasn't the only thing, but I know that day,
Yeah.
Brad Weber was lying, and the
Yep.
prosecution knew he was lying, and they wanted to get in the report, right? And Brad Weber's like, no, I don't remember this. I don't know what I said. I don't remember. And the
Yep.
prosecution, like, oh, objection, right? They did not, they knew what Brett Weber said originally is not what he's saying now, and what he said originally wasn't convenient to the theory of the case, so they could not have it on the record, right?
Yeah.
So the other way I think defense was trying to get it in was through this FBI agent who was away. I think he was in Texas working elections, and he couldn't. I mean, drive. I mean, she said that he had needed to drive, and he couldn't drive that long. He had some kind of health condition or whatever, and she would not allow him get on. And I was there for that for that discussion.
Yeah.
Why not? So then I was thinking, well, if those are FBI guys, why would they be okay with this? Like, what,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, do you remember the story that Andrea told about some guy walking up to her and giving her a pen and calling her by her name?
Yes.
Did you
Yeah.
hear any follow up to that story?
Uh-uh. No. That's weird. I remember that.
It was weird. I want to hear more about that story because I
Huh.
bet there's got to be more to that story. You know?
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
didn't even think about that
Yeah.
until now.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So there's this, like, I have friends like the Meow Zedong. Have you ever talked to Meow? Meow Zedong, she covers like the Floor 4, and she's like the
I've
person to
listened
go
to
to.
her. Yeah. I've listened to her. Yeah. She was on Cryptics recently, no? Or who?
Yeah. I was on a panel with her on Cryptic.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, she's encyclopedic for flora, definitely. And
Yeah.
my whole belief is that this is a whole series of murders that starts with flora, and
Hmm.
the girls are just the next progression in that. I don't know if this is a war of some kind, what's going on, but I have 16 bodies out, not including the girls, that are directly connected to the Patties in an 8-year period.
Wow.
Now, if just anyone dying, right? So if the two girls die, you can expect 2 deaths in 10 years, and typically those will that are directly connected to those murders, but they could just be like heart attacks, dying of old age, dying in a car accident.
Mhm.
That there are 16, and there are way more than that. There's almost double that. But I haven't directly connected those yet, so I can only say 16. But these people aren't dying like JFK. This isn't like fast cancer and heart attacks. These people are dying in arsons. These people are dying in accidents.
What's up with arsons? The woman, was she in the state? What police department she worked for? That she gave the polygraph test,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And her daughter.
Stephanie and Mia Thompson. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we always say like it's, but we're so used to it now,
Yeah.
but it's so weird.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so
Not a
back to
coincidence.
right. So so I went to Grok, and I asked Grok.
Hmm.
I said, okay, I've got 5 fires, I have 16 deaths, and they're all connected to the same murder. What are the chances? What are the odds? And it said, like, I forget what it's like, some word that I don't even know, but it's like a 1 with 61 zeros behind it. Yeah. It's like 28 of those. 1 in 28 with, yeah. Basically, you could win the lottery, the Powerball jackpot 8 times in a row, and it's still less likely than those things not being a, I don't know if I'm saying
That's
that
awesome.
right, but yeah,
The town also is so remote
yeah,
and so isolated and
yeah,
so far away from everything. Why there? But it's also a great location for something
yeah.
that we can understand, right?
So back to the original question, which is there's she has this idea that, this is, the feds are coming in kind of as the good guys, and they are um, investigating a very corrupt local
Hmm.
law enforcement, I don't know, corruption of some kind. When I see Jay Abbott, though, I don't know if you know Jay Abbott's history. Uh,
Mm-mm, I
so,
don't.
so Jay Abbott was, in like 2017, he was the SAC, the special agent in charge in Indianapolis.
Hmm.
Um,
And he's the director of the office in Indianapolis now,
yeah,
no?
he would
Hmm.
FBI office,
With every, yeah.
special agent in charge. So during that time, there's all these girls at the Olympic Academy, like the Olympic
Yeah,
gymnastics,
yeah.
who were being assaulted by Larry Nasser, this doctor,
Hmm.
and they did nothing about it. So, like, other FBI offices said, "Look, don't even send it there." Like, they were supposed to send it elsewhere. When the Office of Inspector General did their investigation, he made materially false statements, which I don't know what that means in legal speak, other than it's like he lied about it, and we don't know what that is. But they were doing something with all that money and time.
Well,
Uh,
but it would make sense, right? Because why would you not investigate this case? Why would you just leave when Doug Carter tells you to leave? Like, why you don't come back after all this? Like, why would you not, right?
Well, yeah,
I don't.
if you there are other cases that really kind of informed me. One was the Governor Whitmer kidnapping trial,
Hmm.
where the FBI coached witnesses, including police, to minimize the FBI's role in the whole thing. I just I don't believe the FBI was kicked off the case. Um, Doug Carter has since walked back some of those statements. Even while he was, were you there when he was testifying? Did you get to see Doug
One day,
Carter?
yeah, yeah. He said I asked him to leave. I think I was there. Part of me like, did I watch it? Did I hear and did I hear her talk about it? No, I think I watched him because I remember his face. I asked him to leave.
You
It was
asked.
my decision. No, no, no. He said that he
Oh,
asked them
yeah,
to leave.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But he asked them to leave. So, at least according to the transcripts, he says that he asked them to leave in August of
Hmm.
2021, which is 1 month after Ferenczi died. And he
Wow,
also
I didn't
asked
connect
for
that.
all their investigative materials to be returned.
Yes, which
So,
I was like, yeah, right. They're gonna return everything and they're not gonna save copies. Like, really?
well, yeah. So I don't know. Like, so do you remember what that exchange was like? Like, how long the sidebar was? Do you really remember any part of that? Because as soon as, I
Very
mean,
quick. I feel like it was very quick.
yeah, Baldwin went right for the throat. Like,
Hmm.
he got up there and he said, "So, how many agencies were involved?" And Doug Carter, says, "I don't know exactly how many, but a lot."
Hmm.
And he said, "Well, can you tell me some?" And he says, "Well, the FBI, the ATF, the U.S. Marshals." And And then Doug Carter says, well, did you ask him to leave? And he says, yeah. Was it your decision? Yes. When did you do it? And then you get this objection when he starts talking about the FBI
Maybe
again.
I wasn't.
And, then there's a sidebar. Man, I wish I could
I
hear that.
remember. I
Because,
wish it was, I really hope everything is recorded because, a lot of times you
yeah,
couldn't hear very well. And many times, and I think Bob and Andrea talked about it, they would like move microphone.
yeah,
McClellan moved microphone several
yes.
times.
I remember her saying that. Yeah.
I watched that. Like and it didn't like you couldn't microphone did nothing for the courtroom, right?
It was just for the recording.
It
Yeah.
was it didn't amplify. I mean, there was nothing. You had to really you couldn't hear very well, right? But he moved
Yeah.
microphone several times.
So I talked to a court reporter recently, and she was
Oh,
telling me about doing, like the person
the
who's
one in Carroll County or the Jody?
no, I spoke to one on Twitter. She's in Indiana, and
Mm-hmm.
she was gracious enough to sit with me for like an hour and a half and like
Wow,
just talk about
how it works.
about how it works. And so she was saying that all the inaudibles are very strange, and she said that it has more to do with a poor recording than it did, because I was feeling that because state secrets privilege has been invoked.
Hmm.
I thought that that was a way of removing certain information. She said no. She said that was poor recording.
For a recording.
And
So she was typing, so you have two sources, right? You're typing, and then
yeah,
also you can, if there's something that you didn't, it was inaudible to you, you would go back and you would listen to the audio, right? What are
yeah.
the chances?
She said that typically you type as you go, but you don't get everything. And then, I mean, it's 250 pages. Whoa, hello. We're talking 250 pages worth of, oh my goodness. There we go. It's 250 pages. She said that it would have had to been farmed out. In the time period that
Wow.
Jody actually got it back to us, she said was incredibly fast. But it's also, she said it's really accurate because she read through it and she did not see really any typos. But so it tracks though that they were making certain things inaudible because they were moving microphones. They were, I don't know.
Yeah. I remember watching. I mean, he would just move the microphone. He's like, "You don't need this." It's, because there was like whoever was the witness, I remember, like leaning into the microphone, and he's like, "You don't need this. It's it's not going to help them or something." He just like literally moved.
Now, do you remember which witnesses that was?
Um, it was a woman.
I'm blurring out here, folks.
You are. I wonder why it's doing that. Oh, because maybe you moved. There you go.
There we go. I'm going to sit very still. So was it Walla, do you think?
Um,
Was she
no.
ever chastised for let me get more light on this. There we go. That'll help with the
That's probably what it is.
it
Getting
is.
dark outside. Well, I think I came there for the second, so for the afternoon. So there was a little bit of McClelland,
Yeah.
and then they went into cross-examination. So it could have been Walla, which she was also a fascinating witness. People that people need to see. I cannot believe she's a psychologist. Like she has no personality.
Oh, no kidding.
She has no personality. She has no bedside manners. Like there is this coldness.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put her in customer service. Like she couldn't. Like I cannot see her relating to people at all.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Hmm. Which is like all of the job. I mean,
Exactly.
I talk to people like, oh, well, I did.
Exactly. Yeah. There's some people that you watch or talk to, and they're like so closed off, right? You just know
Yeah.
that's like there's nothing.
Yeah.
You can't get to them. You
Well,
can't see who they truly are.
it like putting someone who's obsessed with their client. She was obsessed with Richard Allen in this case. And I don't know.
Rick was scared. I felt like, and I don't know. I tried to check my bias always, I ask myself always, I get like it's one of the goals in life, like I check your bias, right? Because I think
Yeah.
I believe that we all biased, right? And it's
Mhm.
important. I mean, it's not, it's impossible to eliminate bias. Like it's just, you have to check it. You have to make sure that you're operating,
Yeah.
not driven by your bias. So, in my opinion, watching Rick, he didn't really show any emotions ever. And I'll tell you, I absolutely think it's a complete bullshit when the information about Rick saying something,
Yeah.
it's so offensive to me as a human that
Yeah.
somebody would put out that information. It's offensive.
E- See, like that was the other thing about the Governor Whitmer trial that tracks with this is that you had these social media personalities running Facebook groups that were paid
Wow.
$56,000. One was there was 13 that were paid, I believe, 12 or 13. One was paid $56,000, given a car, given new tires, given a computer, um, given a AR-15 with an M203 grenade launcher attached. Yes.
What?
Yeah, yeah. Given somebody else was given $20,000 in computers. Somebody else was given 20 grand. One female who was sleeping with at least one of the defendants was also paid, but an undisclosed amount, probably because she was sleeping with defendants.
What does it make you think, that you think that there's somebody's very powerful behind that deserves the best protection possible? Like
I
why
have.
else would be, why else? Like why?
Well, for me, it's that it's the Dropbox. For me, it's whatever that
Mhm.
Dropbox led to. And it so that was left. That was removed completely. I tell you what, when I was told that, and I like there is nothing I've had to keep my mouth shut about
Mhm.
this whole time than that. Like like when I learned that they cut out a part of the
Mhm.
interview and kept that from the public, kept that from the jury. The reason that Rick Allen was arrested is because he worked in the factory
Factory.
with
Yeah.
Tony Klein.
Yep.
My mind
Yeah.
melted.
Yep. I remember listening it and thinking, "Oh wow, Josh just told us, like, you were on Cryptics, I think, and you said, if we find out what was left out of that interview,
Yeah.
it's going to answer a lot of questions." And then,
Thank God for Baldwin.
thank God for Baldwin. But why release? Okay, I understand for the jury, right?
Yeah.
To remove certain things.
Ah,
But why release that video after? Like it was for the trial, right? It wasn't. It was for the trial. They cut it.
I,
Like why release it to the public after the trial
yeah.
with that information
Well, like I
missing?
so I can't, like there's certain things that I just can't confirm, man, I had another question for you about like being inside the trial. Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Before we get off on any of this, did you get to look Rick Allen in the eyes at
I
all?
did. I did.
Did
I did.
you?
I did. Yeah. There was one moment. He was always so scared and so small. First I want to say, anybody that ever saw him in person, the first thing anybody would say, that the small man. Who did you see? That was that small man. I mean, he is small. When at the pretrial, my first attended pretrial hearing, they walked him in. I remember audibly gasping, like I heard myself gasp
Yeah.
because he was so tiny. Not only, and I know he lost a lot of weight, but he
Real.
is
Yeah.
tiny. It's the
Yeah.
first thing you notice about him.
Well, yeah. Like,
Anybody describing him on the whatever, walking across, whatever highway, on the bridge, walking the trails, if you describe this man,
yeah.
describe this person, he was a very short man.
Yeah.
So that's one that never made sense to me. And then he was so broken. Um, and I don't want to go into sad part of it all, because I think to me it's like it's devastating to, when I think about watching him in trial, he
Yeah.
was a shell of a human. There was it was missing. There's a part of him which we saw. Like if you watched like the interview, right? His interrogations or his interviews.
Yeah.
If you remember the letter that he wrote to the judge when he was first arrested, right?
Yeah.
It's one person who has like functional humanness there, right? Like fighting mind, the heart, like emotions, like you just the fighter, right? You see a very functional energy there, right? And then what you saw in the courtroom, not only scary, not scary that he was scary, it was scary to what they've done to him. It is a crime alone of what they've
Yeah.
done to him
Yeah.
because he's just like a 25%
Right.
of the person that you see in those interviews. It's a different person. I don't know
Oh, that's the
if he'll
thing.
ever.
He is defiant in those court. He's defiant all the way out through certain like kind of crass things he did
Yeah, he
in in
believed justice.
in
He
the
was, yeah, okay. It's not, he's not that scared. He
and
knows it
yeah,
wasn't
I want
him,
to
and he's
identify
gonna
that.
prove it, right? In
Yeah.
the courtroom, he is like a little mouse, and he was looking down. It made me. I'd laugh if I wasn't so angry hearing the statements of, alleged that he said something to the judge or McClelland. It's just such a lie. Nobody would believe it. Why would anybody believe it who was there in the courtroom? McClelland doesn't believe it. Doug
Yes.
Carter doesn't believe it.
It would be interesting to see, if the murder sheet would like to reveal their source, their investigators that said that shit. Like, I think that those kinds of things come right from Fig.
They
They
wouldn't
come
believe
right
it. They
from,
don't believe it. Even if they were told that by some investigator, they
yeah,
wouldn't believe it because they saw him in court.
right. I'm having issues. I'm getting hacked right now, folks.
You.
Mid hack.
Hi, Holman. Hi, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry, what's up?
How you doing?
So, so you looked at Richard Allen
Yeah,
and
I
you
looked
saw him in
original.
the eyes. Like, I mean, I guess at that. So this is so far outside of like the social contract that we grew up with here in the U.S. Um, it's so far outside of what we expect from our criminal justice system. Come on now. Let me try to get
Yeah.
more light here.
Okay. Yeah. Especially. Oh, there you go. Maybe it was your your headphones. It's yeah. Hi guys. hmm Question is why.
All right, there we
There
go.
you go. Perfect.
Maybe it'll work. So it's just so far outside of what we expect. And
Especially for someone who's come, like from I can relate kind of to Paula, that the juror from Karen Reid trial when she said, come from a different country, you just expect everything, police and the law and everything.
yeah,
You expect corruption in Brazil or Russia or whatever Soviet Union, but you don't expect it here, right? And the
right,
level, then you see it and you're like, how? It's just brazen. It's so in your
right.
face.
Yeah.
It's so obvious, and they know it's obvious.
Yes. Yeah. And that's like, that's one of the reasons why this community has been dealt with. Like they
Mhm.
have, if you, so the next thing that I'm writing about right now is when Greeno made a threat against defense witnesses, I called
Mhm.
ISP, and so
Mhm.
Holman called me, and what he said
Oh, he
was
did.
he was gonna, yeah, he was gonna ease my mind about Greeno.
Oh,
So the thing is he said the same thing to
that's
Todd
nice.
Click. I'm gonna ease your mind. He's like, I'm gonna ease your mind
Oh,
about, and can you bring in all your investigative materials? And what they were doing is they were starting their
oh,
retaliation against Click by investigating him, and they were
okay.
comparing what Holman was given by Baldwin in the deposition with what. See, I am. This is so weird. I have never had this problem with my camera before, but hey, whatever. So he he called me and he said, I want to ease your mind. I'm just calling to ease your mind about Greeno. He said he's just a weird guy and he's in Canada. He says my intel's got him in Canada, which is weird because my intel had him in Ohio, Florida, and California. In a strip club just north of Dayton in Ohio, actually. So, like, I'm just wondering how this guy in ISP. So he says he's just a weird guy, but Greeno's got a violent history. He's put on a body armor and said that he was a bounty hunter.
It was scary. He gave me, you can see, like I saw him on court, he watches like it gave me a vibes of like, if I had to, the him and Brad Holder, some kind of informants, if I had to have a wild, imagination.
Yeah.
Like he was watching, he's either a very good criminal, right? Who's been through shit.
Yeah.
He's very smart. He watches everything. Like he didn't miss a beat. Like he watched everything.
I don't think Greeno's unintelligent. I think Greeno's
He's
intelligent.
very smart.
Yeah.
And he is such a good liar. He is such a, like he can gaslight her big time. I mean, he can do it he can do a great job at it. You know what I really want to find out, if anybody knows or if you have any opinion. Remember CJ?
I do remember CJ.
That was so another bizarre situation, right? Like it's almost like he infiltrated this community.
I don't know. I hope he's all right. I mean, so I'm an old alcoholic, and I think I'm not claiming he's an alcoholic.
I mean, we kind of watched it, right?
I have no idea, but I wish him the best. I got this vibe that maybe he got blackmailed or something. So I think that some of those.
Where did he come from? Where did he come from? Like old military, high, like.
He's really good on camera. He's funny. He's a funny guy.
But how did he enter this space? Like, who was he watching? Was it like all of a sudden there was like, okay, this is CJ, and we're all listening to CJ.
And he probably came in through I was in the knot early on. Mm-hmm. Like the knot was like would have been Discord or someplace like that. Like the knot was a really like people want to give it the this weird thing. It wasn't that. Mm-hmm. It was just like if you wanted to talk about Delphi 24/7, you could go and
just enter the space.
Discord and do it. And whether or not they had a group of people that were organizing there and doing their own thing, maybe that's what people do on the internet. I have no problem with that.
But then switching so fast. I mean, he was such a.
Well, it was like Greeno was on his channel, like he said,
right? That was
his channel, and
that was bizarre. That was so funny. He stole his channel.
I mean, what was it? What was his? CJ had a couple conversations with me, and he would say things like, I think it was in Discord. He would be like, "You seem like kind of a smart guy." He's like, kind of trying to feel me out if I actually really believed that Richard Allen was innocent, and it's more like, I mean, maybe he didn't, maybe at that point in time, he did not believe Richard Allen was, but I just can't, like, my mind can't wrap around that. Like either you're kind of like cryptics and you believe that maybe, law enforcement just can't tell us everything. But
right. I don't know how you go from he's innocent to he's guilty. I can see how, and again, maybe it's my bias speaking, but I can see how people can go, and they are going now from guilty to innocent, right?
Yeah.
But I can't imagine going from the opposite direction. So that was bizarre to me.
It is bizarre. But this community has been attacked before. We have cops sending cops to other people's houses. Silky basically got raided. I don't know if you were
a little bit.
Yeah.
And then she just disappeared after that, right? She wasn't really.
She's
still around.
she's tough. Yeah, she's still around, but she's got people to worry about and stuff. I think she'll talk about Delphi and Flora and things like that if you bring it up. In fact, recently I think she did a whole live on Flora.
Oh,
But
good.
like, I tried reaching out to some, pretty good streamers, people with talent, like what's his name, Steve from Publicly Buzzed. He's one
Yeah,
of he's really, really naturally talented at this thing, and he's funny as hell.
he's
Like,
very funny. I
and
know he's
he
very, very
starts
funny.
ripping, and yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
so I reached out to him like, "Hey, dude, why do you not talk about this?" And I mean, he has more like personal reasons or whatever. I was kind of thinking maybe he got threatened or something, but there are people that just will not talk about Delphi, and because it's weird. Like, you will get attacked, you'll get whatever. Man, my camera.
I feel like it's because when you're moving your chair, maybe.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, it's
I
not.
thought it was my glasses. I think it's Holman.
It is Holman. Hi, Jerry. And it's also like, you remember those emails that everybody got after the trial, after sentencing from Nick McClelland? Like
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
almost like his
was
email.
there spyware in those? See, that was the thing with the that was the thing with what was it, the crime scene photos. Man, I have never had this problem before.
Is it some kind of setting on Rumble
No, 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 no. It's
on your
it's.
camera?
I have no idea what it is, but I mean, it's autofocus of some kind. Maybe DB Cooper
Mm.
or HCC would know what it is, but it's annoying, isn't it? So, um,
You sound great though, so it's
yeah,
better than
it's all right. Sound is more important by far.
it.
Um, the crime scene photos, I think, might have had some hidden
Mm.
pictures and some other things in them. So,
Do you think we'll ever find out
ever find out what?
what really happened?
Oh, look, I'm not even sure that. Have you heard some of this stuff from Veronica?
Mm-mm.
Veronica was on a live the other night
Which one?
with All Eyes, but before that,
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I
a
didn't.
long time ago, she was.
Wasn't that taken? Like, is that live still up?
Yeah, it was taken down.
Yeah,
It got kind of spicy at one
yeah.
point. So, um, but some of her stuff is interesting. It'll make you wonder. Like, so basically, she was like out the night
Mhm.
after. It was like on the
Is she
14th.
from, she's from Delphi?
Well, she would come in and out of Indiana,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Okay.
and this cop, I think it was a cop. Man, that's just annoying. Sorry, folks, I'm a blob coming to you live, and so apparently this cop was showed crime scene photos on his
Mm.
phone, was just showing people. And she was saying that there were like ropes hanging. She saw a green rag hanging. She saw branches hanging. And my theory is been for a while that man, I don't even want to get into this, but I think the girls were hanging at one point from the tree.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not so confident in any of the evidence that's come out, you know. Um, even like the pictures and the videos and things like that, because for me, like, those things could also be staging that the girls were doing because that they were going to go do something that they wanted to do, and they wanted their parents to think they were doing something else.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, there were, you know, one, two things. When I went to the bridge, I went a couple times, but one time, and it was beautiful November afternoon. I think it was like when they were deliberating. Maybe the judge let us all go early. I don't know. So I went to the bridge. It was quiet. It was not a lot of people. There was a few people that attended the trial, so we kind of went and walking the trail from that, blue bridge, right? You're taking the trail to the bridge.
Yeah.
I was surprised how remote and secluded it was, but also that, like, their houses, right? Quite a few houses right on the left. I mean, there are houses there.
Yeah.
It's not like, but then it's secluded. Whatever houses are there, that area is completely isolated from everything. It's like its own little bubble, right?
Okay.
And that park is open, dawn to dusk, right? So after hours, like at night, there's nobody there. So whatever people that live there have their houses in that area, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing, right? So it's like their own private club sorts. And walking, and I walked, a little bit out, from the trail to, parts of the brush or whatever, down to the river on the right and to the left.
Mhm.
You can like people hang out there. There's, and I know it's gonna sound crazy, um, but some kind of like ritualistic ceremonial, like there's spot like on the left side before, I think it was right after that mirror's entrance,
Yeah.
and on the right I kind of went into the woods, and there was like several three long logs put together, and the ground in front of it is like you can tell the people are walking, lots of people. You can see like it's all pressed down like leaves and stuff. Like you can just tell there are people, and the logs you're kind of sitting, it's almost like a stage of sorts,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of sticks piled up, and the ends of those sticks were burnt, but just the ends.
Yeah.
Some
Huh.
of the sticks were hanging, like you would think that it's a natural occur, like naturally happening, but then you're like, no, there's perfectly spaced, like these big limbs of
Strange.
like this that they're hanging.
Yeah.
There's something happens there, or what's happening there after hours.
Yeah. Well, I think what's his name? Four Pits has that reminds me. He put a comment up that I need to check out today, but he has intimated something like that. That region
Really.
there is, yeah.
And I took a video, and later, I'm like, I couldn't wait to tell people. Like, oh my God.
Have
And
you
then I'm
posted
watching the
this?
video. Yeah, I have the video, and I have some pictures, but when you look at it and the pictures in
Yeah.
the video, you're like, oh, just the woods.
Right.
And they've shown people, and like, it's just the woods, it's Indiana woods. It just looks like woods, right? And when you are there and you're looking at it, you just in the picture it looks different, right?
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
can I send you? Can I like? Can I send you one picture and you tell me if,
Yeah, you could send me. Sure.
or maybe later, and maybe you
I mean,
can
that's
you can
fine.
look
You
at
could
it.
send it on
Uh,
Twitter, whatever. I mean, I might be able
yeah,
to
I'll
link.
send it. My
You
mouse
could
is
send it on Twitter, and I could share it on the screen or something like
yeah.
that if you wanted
Like
to.
I just want to see what people think,
Well,
and
it's
I think I've shown it to a couple of the cranks before, and I even if I look at those pictures, they kind of seem whatever.
yeah. So I don't, I really don't know what I think about. Did you put this
I'm gonna
on
send it
Twitter?
to you
Oh, okay, on the Twitters.
on the Twitters. I don't know what would we do without Twitter, huh? I still call it Twitter. You still call it Twitter?
Yeah,
I
sometimes
can't. I don't know. I can't for some
X,
reason.
whatever. I don't know.
Okay, I'll send you one.
So what is this going to be a picture of?
So a picture of this natural whatever,
Okay,
but just walking in the woods.
gotcha.
Not it's okay. Let me just send this to you. It's one of them.
I appreciate you being flexible and
Oh yeah, it's perfect timing.
creating
It's
a
actually it was
thing
good.
over here on Rumble. Rumble is so much easier,
Is
right?
it?
And like people have maybe, it definitely has a political bent over here, but we need more Richard Allen stuff over here.
Yeah, we
Nick,
do. We
Nick
do.
is over here. So there it is. Came through. Can I go ahead and just post this on my Twitter?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
So let me. Okay.
so you see, like at the
All
top
right.
on
Yeah.
the right hand side, like you think it's a shadow, but it's not. It's burnt spot.
Okay.
it's a burn spot. And then there's several areas where they were kind of burned, and then there were like logs underneath, and then there were like long tree trunks sitting across. Like it's like,
Sure.
especially being in person, it felt, it didn't feel like it was a natural thing that just occurs. Just
Yeah. I don't know if people
it,
can see that, but you're saying that right here is the burnt area,
the go to the right, all the way to the right, the top on the right hand side, like at the end of the tree trunk, all the way to the right.
like here.
No, no, no,
Oh,
like
like okay, now
yeah, yeah,
there
yeah,
because
yeah,
my cursor is offset. So right here, that's burnt.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I notice if you're looking at this branch,
Hmm.
this branch, and looks like this, they are all evenly spaced across
They
here.
are evenly,
This hang-
you would have to think that they fell from another tree and
yeah,
naturally like are sitting like that.
right. But this is almost completely parallel with this other thing down here. I don't know. That is weird. And then you've got this right here. You know, I have wanted to talk to Patrick Westfall forever about
Mm,
incidental runes. So if you read some of Brad Holder's old, his, what he's talking about,
hmm.
he talks about uh, the conversations that he was having with Patrick Westfall, and he was having a deep spiritual experience. Um, no matter
Brad
what.
Holder or Patrick
Oh yeah,
Westphal?
Holder was definitely. I think Patrick Westfall was too. I think that Patrick Westfall is
You don't
a.
think Brad Holder is an informant of some
Oh, I
sorts?
do. I think so. Absolutely. I think that. Yeah, 100%.
Hmm.
And I think that Holman was trying to tell. I think Holman was trying to intimate that um, to Todd Click.
Wow.
Todd Click gets done with his investigation or going in and talking to
Hmm.
Holman,
Let me
and
ease your mind.
yeah, the Ease Your Mind meeting, and Brad Holder is sitting in the waiting
Hmm.
room. Now we also know that when after they supposedly lost their investigation into Brad Holder, that when they re-interviewed him and Westfall,
Yeah.
they didn't ask them any questions
No, they
about.
just needed to like just, check the box. Yeah, we interviewed them, right?
Right. But they didn't. But like we know in testimony that they didn't ask them any questions about what Amber Holder had alleged
Hmm. Why
about.
not?
Because
Right?
probably because he's an informant of some kind. Um, Patrick Westfall intimates as much. Basically calling him spineless quite a few times. And Brad Holder was just screaming, "Come arrest me!" the entire time. Like
Exactly.
he's
He was
posting
begging.
pictures
Yeah.
of like crime. Like
That's bizarre. That's not normal. People like for anybody, we just like, oh yeah, it happened. We just so desensitized to it. Like it's not normal. It is not normal. Everything you look at the post, you look at the, you know, I think he still has. He removed a lot, but his Pinterest was weird, like
yeah,
bizarre. His pictures, how like, and his son was
yeah,
dating
yeah,
Abby, and
right,
even mom didn't know about it. Like, come on, like
yeah,
Nexus, really? You need
yeah,
to like Nexus?
yeah. Did you
How
see
is
any
it
of those
normal?
at the trial? Did you see any of these people? Holder, Westfall.
No, no. The only time, and I talked about it. Holder, like at the May hearing when they got, postponed or whatever. Or maybe it was one of the other ones, but it was also around that time. I remember walking out, and it was, I think, maybe one of the hearings that got caught, like, you know, early or something. And I was walking out. We were kind of hanging out at the, square, whatever. It was in Allen County. Um, and then I kind of walked towards I parked somewhere behind to the left of the courthouse. I was walking towards the parking garage, and all of a sudden, so I'm walking, and towards me, Brad Holder is walking. And at first, I was like, "Who is like?" With the attorney, The way he walked, and I'm again, because I saw it, I saw him coming towards me, and I'm proud, who knows? I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say I'm right, but to me, that walk, those jeans, the boots, it all screamed bridge guy.
Yeah.
And walking
You know,
by him,
I've
like
heard other people say that. I've heard other people say that.
I'm not gonna, it's because I was in that situation. I might be completely biased, I might be completely wrong, but to me, when he walked and I walked by him, his legs like are kind of long, too long in proportion to his body, and his jacket was like, it was the same legs, it was the same knees, it was the same, the way he walked. And it was, I mean, it still gives me goosebumps just talking about it. And again, like I said, I am not saying, it's just to me, for
Right.
me, that felt like I walked towards the bridge guy. And nobody's going to change my mind until, of course, like true information, comes out. And that's what some people say it's absolutely Ron Logan, right? Some people say it's absolutely this person or that person. What does it prove? It just proves that it could be anybody.
Yeah. Well, like Ron Logan, I know that it could be an
The
incredible.
bridge guy, I mean, not necessarily who killed the
Right.
girls, but the bridge guy could be anybody.
Exactly. And Bridge Guy,
20, 30, 50, 60. He could be 20, he could be 60.
the weird thing though is that, Bridge Guy did not come forward and say, "Hey, it's me," that we know of. Because Bridge Guy might have come forward and said, "Hey, that was."
Right? Yeah.
But Ron Logan
It's
was
true.
definitely wearing the exact same clothes,
Exactly the same
same
clothes.
jacket, and he did not. And his alibi was BS. So,
Yeah,
and
how
the
that's
little
not
girls
an
were found on his property. Like,
right? That's not Nexus.
I just have to assume, that R&M is nail on the head. It's, but you'd have to convince me that he's not. Like if he's
I think we were fed this information about the video, that when we're gonna see the video and what happened on the video, right? We were
yeah,
primed for years.
yes, yes. And that's funny that you catch that, like the predictive programming, that this is what's
And
going to
now I do, right?
you.
Because when we're watching the video now for
Yeah,
6 years, or how many years, right? eight
right.
years, we were told that this is the scary guy who abducted the girls and who killed the girls.
Yeah,
And we're supposed to be scared, right? But if you unroll all that
yeah.
and you watch the video without all that, right?
I mean,
Like,
it looks and sounds like the girls were leaving with somebody that they planned on leaving with. They had
they
plenty of time to make a call. They had plenty of time
Mhm.
to to s-
they
and
were
on.
looking to go down.
Yes, they were. Yep.
They were the first ones who brought it up. I
And
mean,
that,
they were the ones who said it first.
yeah, I don't know.
Do they say, I
My
just, if you watch
my
it without
my
pre-existing condition, right?
so
That video does not sound to me like they're terrified.
Yeah. Do you remember when Doug Carter was like, it was like afterwards. It was after their big win. And
Mhm.
he's lamenting the fact that these other crime scene photos are gonna come out. Do you remember that? He's
Yes.
like he's
Yes.
like now
It's like,
now
oh, yeah, defense. If you see other photos, right?
yeah. Like don't share
Like
them
just,
or
oh,
something.
it's don't share them, because defense, might release, you might see other photos soon.
I think that's some of the stuff that Veronica's talking about. I think
Mhm.
that there are locals there, people
Man,
that
they
were
missed
involved
a
that
lot.
have photos that do not match what we have been told.
100%.
And I think that I really think that there are people out there. So leak it. If
Yeah,
that's you,
it, why not? I mean, I understand it's scary, and I also want to tell, if the jurors, like, I wanted to specifically, one thing that I really wanted to do today is, if the jurors get to see this video, I specifically want to talk to two. They were in seat 4 and seat 10,
four
from
and
4 and 10. From every time I saw them there, like, I believe, like, I was very impressed with them. They were bright. There was a girl and a guy, young, she
was
was
the
beautiful.
girl
She had
was
this,
it the
yeah,
girl?
girl had red hair. She was beautiful. Always dressed like she was just by far, like, from, I couldn't believe she was like from Indiana.
Which one was the girl? Which one was the guy? 4 or 10?
So, you know, it's funny because when I first, on my day one, I started counting from the top row, one, two, three, or not. No, I can I can remember, but I did it the wrong way. So 4 and 10, the guy was 10 and the girl was 4.
And the girl, you said you couldn't believe that she was from Indiana. You said she had red hair.
Yeah, she was beautiful, red hair, like she was beautiful. And he was very handsome too. He had this goatee, like really, really dark black hair, like facial, like he was a good looking guy too. I was like, if they're single, I hope they will. They were smart. They were taking notes. That you could tell that they didn't
Yeah,
listen to the
they were very.
noise. They didn't look at there was a lot of those jurors who were kind of looking, especially one guy, like he was interested in what was going on in the audience. Like he was engaged with the
Yeah.
audience. He was fascinated by what was happening. The two girls who I think are one of them was the one who gave interview. I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
To me, it was 1 and 2, or I guess you can say 7 and 8. They were like sisters. They looked the same. They looked very similar. They talked like they chatted that just like best friends.
Yeah.
But there's 4 and 10. So I know I can if I have any talents, I think if I have any talents, but I love people. Like I love people and I love reading people. I feel like I feel people. I know people. I understand people.
Yeah.
And those two gave me really strong feelings of good people.
Okay.
And they paid attention. They knew that they were there for, to serve their country basically, right?
Right.
So if they get a chance to see this somewhere somehow, I know it's eating you. Whatever's since November, it's eating you on the inside. You've watched probably a lot of coverage. You've read, you've researched, and I know it's scary. And you probably know more why it's scary than we do. I don't know why I think so, but I think you know more of why it's scary to you, but it's eating you alive on the inside. You were smart people. You knew what was happening. Like if you believed he was, obviously, I think you believed he was guilty at the time of the verdict. But since then, there's no way that I will believe that you still can. You don't have any questions. If anyone, it's those two smart
Interesting.
humans that have questions.
Could you pick them out if you saw them?
Yeah, for sure.
They all came from Allen County.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this somehow, like I don't know. So
They
Baldwin
need to.
is in his interview with that 21, which
Hmm.
thank God for that interview.
Right? Yeah,
That
I know.
um
I like that guy.
he
Maybe
said, like he intimated that, like he said, I mean, he looked right into the camera and said he had some inside knowledge into something that happened with the jury. And then
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure Chad, I mean, if anybody is in here, didn't Osbrook say something about
Gall and Holman coming into
Baldwin
the.
coming, yeah, into the
I
jury?
heard stuff about like on the weekends that they were like having cookouts with the cops, and they were guarded. I mean, think about it. Like
Yeah.
they were guarded by the cops, right? From
Well, there was
York
somebody,
County.
was it Brad Holder or somebody was following the do you remember that when the police got called because someone was following the
There
jury?
was a woman. There was some woman was following their van, but she
Okay.
was turned out to be no one. I don't know. They took her phone. Remember, like they stopped her. I mean, she was just following the van. I know it was a weird situation,
Yeah.
but they deliberated for so long,
Yes, they did.
for so long,
Yeah,
and
I
I
thought sure there would be 2 people that were put on that jury to make sure that it was hung.
To
Or
me,
tried.
I was so confident because I'm like 4 and 10, they will not vote guilty. There's
Yeah.
just no way.
Yeah.
And then to find out that 11 was a foreman. I'm sorry. It's just I don't like it. To me, it's just because I know everything about the case, not everything, but as much as I know. Why would I think that something with the jury wouldn't, some kind of fuckery with the jury,
Yes, they accounted for everything
why
else.
would I think
Eliminate
that
it.
it's not possible,
Yeah.
knowing everything that we know?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
11 was the most unlikely
Weird.
foreman.
It's so weird. Why was 11 the most on? You said he looked kind of like a cop, and he made eye
Holman
contact with Holman.
Holman, Holman made eye contact with him. He
Okay.
was just so you can't read him. Like that's exactly what I wrote in my notes. I can't read him. I don't know. No, like just sitting there. I don't think he took any notes. He was just disinterested. Like he was just there.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know. Weird. I should have gone.
Well, hopefully we'll have another one, right?
Oh, if we
One
have
more
another.
thing I want to tell you. One is what else I wrote. Oh, okay. So hold on.
I mean,
I'm
we
gonna
are.
read you my
We
notes.
can do another one. We
We'll
haven't.
do, yeah. We
Okay.
probably will do another one. It's been 2 hours. I can't believe it. I had so much fun with this. It's
I know.
crazy.
Yeah. See, and you know what? You did great.
I know I was so nervous all day. I was like, oh my God, I have
For
to go on
what?
camera, I have to talk to
Yeah.
people, what? But
Yeah.
it was a lot
It
of
was
fun.
easy. It was easy.
Last thing I want to tell you, and then we'll do another one. But to me, what cemented my after everything that I already knew,
Yeah.
that Rick Allen was innocent. Think about Dan Doolin talking to Rick Allen, right? What, 2 days
Yeah.
after the murders, right?
Yeah.
And taking his information.
Right.
Imagine Rick Allen telling him he was there from 1:30 to 3:30.
He didn't say that though. But
Right.
yeah.
But that's state's theory, right?
Yeah.
If Rick Allen said that he was there from 1:30 to 3:30,
Yeah.
and they had the phone and something didn't match or something, they went back, there's no way they would have lost his tip. There's no way they would have not talked to him because they talked to everybody many times who
Right.
was there at the time. They would have never just said, oh, it cleared or whatever, or Dan Doohan would just say, okay, no second interview is needed. They would have, like, if he really told them he was there from 1:30 to 3:30.
Do we know that they checked his phone?
Well, they took his interesting question the jury asked, because they took his like EMEI, even though it's not iPhone, right? Like they took all the numbers on the phone. The jury question. So there was some kind of testimony about the phone extractions and where the phone was and all that, right? I
Yeah.
don't remember whether it was about Weber's phone or Libby's phone. One of the jurors asked, "Could you have done that with Rick's phone to find out all this information
Yeah.
about the phone, right?
Yeah.
Could you have done that with Richard's phone?" And there was Mullen, I think, and also he said we could have.
Yeah. Mullen was the guy. Yeah, Mullen is one of my bad actors. Like, if I have to get my list,
He
I
was
got
so snarky. He
Vito,
was
Mullen, and Holman. So
Mullen was
Mullen that
disgusting.
reached out to Todd Click. Mullen did, and said, "Go meet with Vito and Holman."
He was laughing on the stand. He was
Well, didn't Andrew
like it was.
got his ass kind of handed to him? I think Andrea told a story that like me and Mullen was like really cocky until Baldwin or
He was, yeah.
maybe
Well, maybe it was when I was there. He was super cocky. I mean, it was disgusting.
it
But
might have
that
been Ajay that handed him his ass. I'm not sure.
maybe, hopefully, yeah, he needed it. But that it will always stay with me. Like, yeah, we could have, and nothing, right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Anyway, do we have anybody wants to ask any questions?
Yeah. Do we have any questions for Oksana before we
Or
roll?
for Josh?
You know what? Thank you, folks, so much for being here with us.
Yes, thank you.
technical difficulties and all of that. I
And
hope
following us on Rumble.
Bugs feels much better about her technical difficulties because we're all going through it. So, anybody got any questions? Let me actually
What we should talk
scroll
about
through
next time.
here and see. My goodness. So, what are you gonna be posting more? Are you gonna be posting more about any of your experiences at the trial? What can we expect from you?
Oh wow. I never thought that anything I have to say is interesting or needed or whatever has any substance, you know. So I think I don't know.
What
The
about
people
the
that I
videos
found on
from the
Twitter.
trial?
What? I'm sorry.
What about the videos that you posted from the trial? Like, I remember you talking on video from the trial.
It was with Angie. Yeah, yeah, it was fun. To me, like it felt like, yeah. I mean, I'm glad I was there, and it was, I'm not gonna stop following the case. I just submitted a FOIA request for. I was very after reading Stacy's Bajanovsky or whatever her last name is testimony about DNA
Yeah,
and how the only hit on DNA that they had was with this male DNA on the black on Abby's sweatshirt, and they were excited. They sent it to CODIS, and they came back as um, lab employee, which is an ISP
right.
officer. They
Yeah,
they want to say lab. If you listen to Murder Sheet or anybody else on podcast, they will say lab employee, but it was ISP
yeah, yeah.
trooper or whatever who was
What?
in the lab or lab employee. So
Mm,
I submitted a FOIA just to, who it was, how, you know, kind of disciplinary actions or any reports about it or any email communications. Do I believe they're gonna? Probably not, but I'm like, redact his name. But why can't we know his name? When you truly believe in your case, right?
yeah,
You don't have to hide anything.
they harden
You can
everything.
release information. So if that ISP, whatever lab employee,
Yeah,
has nothing like to do, which I don't think he has anything to do, but why hide it? Why hide his name? It was a mistake. It was it was incident, contaminated scene. It was accidentally touched. Why not tell his name then? It was an honest
honest.
error, right?
Yeah, honest.
Honest mistake. So why protect and hide so much information from us? Why hide pictures of the crime scene? Not with the victims, obviously, not with the girls, but there's so many pictures probably. Idaho just dumped how many pictures and videos? Why not? What are you hiding? It's so obvious. The more you hide, the more we're gonna ask questions, the more people are gonna not believe you. Because
Yeah.
if you have a true and honest story to tell and you believe in it yourself, you wouldn't have to do any of this.
Well, that's like I said, and I've said it before, and I don't want to beat the horse, but the FBI, the ATF, the U.S. Marshals are all there.
Mhm.
The DHS is there. And if you ask any of them questions, including the GBI, who did a peer review of their investigation in 2018, all of them say, go to ISP. We're not answering any questions.
Wow.
Go to ISP, and ISP says we're not.
But they also going to be so hypocritical, right? And they're going to say, well, we couldn't talk. We were under gag order. We were
Yeah.
following
Oh,
judges'
yeah.
directions.
Yeah.
Who
Not
asked
with the
for
gag.
who asked for gag order?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know,
That's the thing. Like, that's one of the things that I still want to know from Baldwin is how did he know they weren't going to let cameras come in? Because he walked in the door demanding cameras, and he knew something about it. He knew that they
Mhm.
weren't going to let them happen.
Yeah.
So Free Ricky Bay says, this is not a question, but I add Oksana Luke. You kick total ass, and I adore you. Thank you.
Oh, I love Free
Oh,
Ricky Bay. It's a family hog.
so
Yeah,
you're not gonna be posting anymore or doing any more streams and stuff. You'll do this with me again, though, right?
I'll do it. Yeah, I've never done my own streams, so I don't not planning
Yeah.
it. Listen, I'm in property management. I am a mom and a grandma, and I'm not a true crime. Like I love trials. I love
Yeah.
Delphi is. I'm gonna. It's my hill to die on, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
not gonna go anywhere. Like I'll watch Kieran Reed, I'll watch Donna Adelson's trial because I think, and by the way, like poor, it was horrible today. I watched, I worked from home and watched it, and it was just awful. It was just awful.
Yeah.
It was just awful. But Delphi is just, it's a case that is just gonna stay with me forever, whether we're
Yeah.
ever gonna find out what happened or not. It's for Richard Allen, it's for Abby and Libby, and it's for Abby and Libby's mom. I can guarantee you, those poor women, they cannot speak from their heart. You know, Carrie has a special heart, a special place in my heart because she sat next, kind of like on the other side of the, you know, the bench. She
Wow.
didn't know who I was, and she and I had these red boots, and she's like, "I love your boots," and we had like she was, I
Oh.
almost, yeah, like she was so kind and sweet, and she was just cool, you know. And from that I was like, I just wanted to give her a hug, and I just have a
Yeah.
very, very, very special soft spot in my heart. And what it also tells me during sentencing, which I wasn't there, but I heard, she said, I will listen to you. Write to me. Like, I will listen to you, right? She wants to know more. She can't, you know, like they have to believe
That's
prosecution.
correct.
Yeah, she said that. I will listen to you. Write to, like, I'm not going to close. I'm not going to, you know, I want, write to me. Like, I will listen to you. I'll come visit you and I'll listen to you.
Yeah. Holy moly.
You
Wow.
know, so it tells me as a mother also,
Yeah.
I know that I would want to believe the police is telling me the truth, right? I would want to believe in it.
Yeah.
You want to. You want to
I
put it
want to.
behind you, right?
Yeah.
Plus, secondly, you don't want to believe that they lied to you and that there's real killer someone. You just you know, your brain will not let you go there, right? And I think they believe they're gonna get this closure after the trial, but I also know what mother's heart feels and how it's like. I know that it's not, it's still just like with the jurors, I believe both of them.
Juror 4 and 10.
Hmm.
I'm gonna remember that. I
Please
wrote it down.
do.
I wrote it down.
Juror 4 and 10. First of all, you're beautiful humans inside and out. You're extremely smart. You took notes. You were engaged. And I just think after the trial, you went and you saw something and you listened. Maybe you even hear. Maybe once you listen, but you have you have stuff to tell, and you can't sleep at night every night.
Right. Wow. Well, I hope
I,
juror 4 and 10 see this.
I hope so too. It's gonna be either from the jurors, it's gonna be either from some witnesses. The truth is gonna come out. It's just whether it's gonna come out when we are still here, right? And the justice is still possible. I
Well, I
don't
don't,
know who did it. I don't know who did it, but I know it wasn't one person.
well, I know, yeah. And I just know with all these bodies piling up that there's
Mhm.
more going on here than we know.
There's a lot more, and I don't even want to speculate. All I know is it wasn't Rick Allen, and it wasn't one person. That's all I know.
Yeah.
All I've gathered from being at the trial, that it wasn't Rick Allen, and there was more than one person.
Well, let's end on that then.
Okay.
It was not Rick Allen
Thanks,
in
everybody.
in person.
Yeah, it's not Rick Allen. It's more than one person. Thank you so much again. I had
No,
fun.
thank you. We got to do this again.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
thank everybody for being here. And with that, we will see you later. Bye.